Okay, my friends, another review time. And this time I'm going after CNN. And it's not in a bad way. I'm not a person who exactly love the mainstream media. But what I do know is that most of the older generation, your 40s, 50s, 60s and up, are still watching mainstream media. And unfortunately, these are the individuals who are also teaching a lot of the younger generation. So that puts us, the ones who are a little bit more tuned in and have their finger on the pulse on what's happening with the younger generation, because the younger generation tend to put their world out on social media. So this one issue, I feel, has now hit the mainstream media. I think once something has hit the mainstream media, more of the advertisers will start to take notice. The people who actually run the show. So if you think that the politicians are the one running the show, no, my friends. The world is ran by consumerism. That's it. The ones who are spending the money, those are where the marketers are going to push the message that favors them. Females are the highest consumers. That is why females get the benefit of the media. Simple. Think about it, gentlemen. If you haven't thought about this already, I'll just break it down very simply. If women are spending the most amount of money, they are the ones that has the highest percentage of debt in the Western world. Women go into debt to buy more crap. So, who do you think advertisers are going to try to market to? Women. Who do you think the message is going to favor? Women. Who do you think the message is going to be against? Men. This is what you guys have to simply understand. The people who are consuming controls the media. Simple as that. So I was pleasantly surprised when this CNN host, Mr. Michael Smerconish, God, I know I just butchered his name, but this is his name here. He ran this amazing piece. I think it was well researched, and he had some great guests who actually broke down the state of the dating market, the state of American mental health among the young generation. You guys have no idea how many DMs I'm getting, especially on my Instagram channel. If you guys want to make sure that you can connect with me on a little bit more personal note, you can DM me. Find me on Instagram. Go and join my Instagram page, Ask an Older Man on Instagram. Okay, now, I will make sure that I answer every single one of the messages I get. It's overwhelming, but I do get through them. Currently, the page is growing really fast, so I don't know how long I'll be able to keep up. But if you want to talk to me on a more serious note, please get me on askanolderman.com and book a session. It's very reasonable. And I know a lot of you guys still have a hard time building up the nerves and the courage to go out and talk to women. If you want help with this, go to askanolderman.com and find the male communication clinic, where I have 5 beautiful women that you can book a Zoom call with, and you can talk to them for either half an hour or an hour, and it's less than the cost of taking a date out and having 2 cups of coffee and a sandwich. I want to keep it reasonable so you guys get an opportunity to work on your skills. At the end of the call, you get feedback from these ladies on your mannerisms, how you deliver, how you answer the questions, because I'm giving you also a free list of open-ended, beautiful questions, very interesting, that you can ask any woman on a date. After you get cross, hello, how are you? How was your day? Did you do anything interesting? Once you get through all of that, what else? Well, I have a PDF I'm going to send you free. You can basically have a whole repertoire of opening questions that you can ask a woman that are interesting, that are refreshing. You know, women love talking about themselves. But you got to ask the questions, because you can't let her do all the talking. She'll find you boring. You got to ask her questions. So there's a beautiful list that you get to practice on the girls in the chat, and so that you can develop enough skills that when you do actually get on a date in the real world, you will have practice. And these are girls from different parts of the world, so you can get a refreshing look at different types of women. Okay? talking about. So let's play the video, and I have a few comments on it.
CDC suggesting major problems with regard to the mental health of our adolescents, surges in depression and suicidal ideation, especially true for our girls. This week, I found cause to worry about young men. This headline from The Hill, it caught my eye. Most young men are single. Most young women are not.
Let's pause that right there. Most young men are single. Most young women are not. What does that tell you? Because you have to understand one very simple thing. There are more women in the world than there are males. So why is it possible that more females are not single versus males, when it should be the reverse? So why is it that more women are claiming that they're in relationships versus males? More women are involved with fewer men. In other words, more men have more than one woman. There, I said it.
The story reported that as of 2022, Pew Research Center found 30% of U.S. adults are neither married, living with a partner, nor engaged in a committed relationship. Nearly half of all young adults are single. Now, look at these numbers. 34% of women, twice as many, a whopping 63% of men. What explains that? I pulled the Pew study and I read with interest. Turns out since 2019, the share of single men who say they're looking for dates or a relationship has declined from 61% to 50%. In 2018, 28% of men ages 18 to 30 reported they'd had no sex in the past year, compared with 18% of women of that age.
And that backs up my point right there. More women are having sex with the same men than there are men having sex. Women don't understand that they're sharing the same men. The same top 20% of men have more than 80% of women at their disposal. Women are ignoring the bottom 80% of men. That's where the problem comes in. It's now hitting mainstream media, and I'm glad to see it's happening, because hopefully this will open people's eyes up to realize that we got a problem in the West. And it's not men who brought this problem on. It's feminism.
The Hill report said men in their 20s are more likely than women in their 20s to be romantically uninvolved, sexually dormant, friendless, and lonely. They stand at the vanguard of an epidemic of declining marriage, sexuality, and relationships that afflicts all of young America. Among the causes, among the factors, a reliance on social media and online porn. But also, more young women are hooking up with each other or dating and marrying slightly older men, and heterosexual women are getting more choosy. Other troubling statistics about men come from a 2021 study from the Survey Center for American Life. They found the share of men who have 6 or more close friends, which in 1990 was 55%, by 2021 had shrunk by half. Meanwhile, those with literally 0 close friends, which stood at 3% in 1990, has zoomed to 15%.
I keep telling you gentlemen this. You have to get out and network with other men. You have to develop relationships with other men. Business relationship, workout relationship, buddy relationships. This network is what keeps us as men engaged and powerful. When other women see that you have a network of men, they know that that means that you are desirable, not only to other women, but you want to be around other men. That's why it's important to have a network of other men to build with, to help you build. You can't build a city on your own. You can't build a village on your own. You can't even build a damn house on your own. You can't do shit on your own. You need to actually have a network of other men to go into war with you, to build with you. That's how we come together and rise up together. You want desirability by other women? That's what you have to do. You can't be out there on your own like a lone wolf. Wolves have a harder time hunting on their own. If they hunt as a pack, they bring home the bounty much faster, much quicker, much more savage. Network, gentlemen. Let's proceed.
An expert quoted by The Hill said this disconnect can have catastrophic consequences for young men. Quote, in the worst case scenario, the young American man's social disconnect can have tragic consequences. Young men commit suicide at 4 times the rate of young women. Younger women are largely responsible for rising rates of mass shootings, a trend that some researchers link to their growing social isolation.
I wanted to do a piece on why I feel that the high number of mass shooting in America is taking place is because of this simple point. There are too many men who feel that what is it all about? What is it all about? If you have no purpose in life, why not go out in a blazing glory?
Well, those words reminded me of a conversation that I had over a year ago right here on CNN with NYU professor Scott Galloway.
But the issue is, when you have a group of men, the lower half of attractiveness of men in online dating, which has doubled, now it's about half of relationships.
There is nothing worse than a young man without any hope, any projection into the future of reproducing, not living a comfortable life, not having a social structure. Guys, you have to understand that we are social creatures. That is our biology. Forget about what the world is telling you. Our social structure, who we are as a species, is to be sociable with another human being. Not cats and dogs, other human beings. That is what brings us fulfillment. Without that, there's nothing. We don't feel like life is worth living.
More prone to not believe in climate change. So this is the American story. If it's written with a pen whose ink is failing young men, does not end well. This is an existential crisis, failing young men.
First off, Michael, I just want to say thank you for raising this issue a year ago when a lot of media companies were afraid to talk about this for fear of it being pro-men was somehow being anti-women. Look, this is returning to the natural order of things.
And then, Scott, you toss in the influence of social media and how relationships today, they don't come from, in our era, happenstance and mingling, right? They come from swiping, and that further accelerates this issue. Am I right?
Oh, it's been the chaser to it. I mean, to have an honest conversation about this, we have to be honest, and that is that men and women have different mating criteria. One quarter of men saying economic viability is a key criteria in a mate. 3/4 of women say that is important. And when you're on a 2-dimensional format, where now it's 1 and 2 relationships begin online, it used to be 1 and 4 just a few years ago, it gets distilled down to a small number of criteria. Specifically for men, it's does she look attractive? And specifically for men, is he able to signal his ability to garner resources in the future? An average attractive male on Tinder gets swiped less than 1% of the time. And there's 3 men on Tinder for every 1 woman. So you've distilled it. You've taken out one of the key components of mating dynamics, and that is vibe, humor, body language, pheromones, the ability to be, quite frankly, a little bit persistent in the pursuit of a romantic relationship. We have no third places anymore, no places to meet. People aren't going to bars. They aren't sports league. They aren't going to church. They aren't even going to work. So it gets distilled down to very 1 or 2-dimensional attributes. And the reality is women are much choosier than men, and they can apply those screens, and they allocate all of their attention to a small number of men that results in just essentially at the end of the day, a lack of opportunities.
If a man can't at least have sex with the opposite sex, the frustration and the build-up of his natural self, his hormones, just to release his seed, that drives him insane. Society don't understand that. Everybody thinks, oh, he has to control himself. Men can't control themselves anymore. You know how hard it is going against your biology. So of course, when men that have weaker minds with no discipline, that came out of a household with no father figure to instill hard discipline, when these guys have reached a point of no return, they will either take themselves out and self-delete, or they will take out as many people as they can, their frustration, to show that they're still men. Because that's all it is showing that I still have some sort of power, and I'm going to take it out on everybody now. So what? I go out in a blaze of glory, because that's every movie that we've seen, right? I just wanted to highlight this one video because it really rings home on why channels such as this one is growing at such an alarming rate. But understand the importance of this message reaching mainstream media. That is important.